morning and a very warm welcome to the Breakfast Rundown on TV1. I'm Therunee Karunaratne. As always, we're coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Let's start off this morning's bulletin with sports news. The 13th edition of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup begins today, jointly hosted by India and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka and India will meet in the tournament's opening match, which is scheduled to begin at 3 p.m. Sri Lanka time in Guwahati. A total of 8 teams, Sri Lanka, India, Australia, England, South Africa, Pakistan, Bangladesh and New Zealand will compete in this year's tournament. Matches will be held across Navi Mumbai, Guwahati, Visakhapatnam, Indore and Colombo's R. Premadasa Cricket Stadium. Now, 11 of the group stage fixtures are to be played in Sri Lanka, giving the home side a strong local presence. Australia enters the competition as the most successful women's team in history, having lifted the trophy on 7 occasions. India follows with 4 title wins. In head-to-head encounters, India holds a dominant record against Sri Lanka in women's ODIs. Out of 35 previous matches, India has won 31, while Sri Lanka has managed just 3 victories. One match ended without a result. The Sri Lanka women's team, captained by Chamari Atapattu, departed the island recently to take part in the tournament. Sri Lanka will play 7 matches in the group stage. The tournament runs until the 2nd of November 2025. Now, all matches will be broadcast live in Sri Lanka exclusively on TV1 and streamed via www.sirasatv.lk, with the network holding the official local broadcasting rights. Let's move on to local news. The International Monetary Fund's Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Evan Papageorgiou, met with Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya at Temple Trees. During the discussion, Papageorgiou commended the government's ongoing reform program, particularly the measures taken to strengthen governance and curb corruption. He also highlighted the importance of tax policy reforms and steps taken to reduce tax exemptions. Special attention was drawn to the allocation of resources for the special social protection system under the upcoming 2026 national budget, which Papageorgiou welcomed as a significant step forward. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya emphasized that the 2026 budget would be people-centered, focusing on empowering citizens while ensuring that economic progress aligns with the public's needs. She noted that attracting quality investment remains a top priority for the government. The Prime Minister further stressed that strengthening social protection is essential for safeguarding vulnerable communities and ensuring long-term stability. Outlining the government's priorities for the upcoming budget, Dr. Amarasuriya stated that special focus will be placed on enhancing rural and economic participation through small and medium-scale enterprises, accelerating digitalization, advancing infrastructure development, promoting sustainable growth in tourism, and strengthening the agriculture sector. Meanwhile, President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka's official visit to Japan, undertaken upon the invitation of the Japanese government, concludes today. On the penultimate day of his visit, President Dissanayaka held bilateral discussions in Tokyo with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. The president was warmly welcomed at the Prime Minister's office, where he received military honors from the Japan's self-defense forces. Talks between the two leaders focused on strengthening the long-standing partnership between Sri Lanka and Japan, with emphasis on trade, investment, economic cooperation, development assistance and regional security. As a symbol of expanding development cooperation, the two sides signed exchange documents covering a project to enhance productivity in Sri Lanka's dairy industry and a program of official security assistance. The joint statement was released following these discussions. Prime Minister Ishiba praised Sri Lanka's progress under the IMF-supported reform and debt restructuring program, reaffirming Japan's continued support. President Dissanayake, in turn, expressed appreciation for Japan's role as the co-chair of the Official Creditor Committee and for being the first bilateral creditor to initiate debt restructuring with Sri Lanka. The joint statement confirmed both nations' commitment to advancing the IMF program, accelerating debt restructuring to attract investment, and resuming 11 suspended yen loan projects. Agreements was also reached to revive the second phase of the Bandaranaike International Airport, continue with the television digitalization and telecommunications project, and strengthen naval surveillance capacity through the provision of 10 new unmanned vessels funded by Japanese aid exceeding 1 billion rupees. President Dissanayake further briefed Prime Minister Ishiba on improvements in Sri Lanka's business investment environment since the current government took office and extended an invitation to Japanese companies to explore opportunities in the island. The Japanese Prime Minister also assured Japan's continued support for Sri Lanka's anti-corruption initiatives. Both sides agreed to cooperate under Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific vision, ensuring adherence to international maritime law and democratic values. During his visit, President Dissanayake also met the Japanese finance minister, with talks centering on expanding economic and investment cooperation under JICA-supported projects. Separately, he held discussions with the Japanese defense minister, focusing on long-term defense ties and regional security cooperation. The president later met top Japanese business leaders at the headquarters of the Japan External Trade Organization, or JETRO, joined by JETRO chairman and CEO Norihiko Ishiguro and members of the Japan-Sri Lanka Business Cooperation Committee. Highlighting new investment opportunities, he underscored the government's commitment to creating a corruption-free and investment-friendly climate. President Dissanayake reiterated the importance of strengthening trade ties with Japan, one of Sri Lanka's key economic partners, stressing the mutual benefits of deepened cooperation. With that, let's move on to more local news this morning. The National Transport Medical Institute in Nugegoda will begin issuing temporary driving licenses from today. Commissioner General of Motor Traffic Kamal Amarasinghe says that anyone renewing their driving license can obtain a temporary license after securing the required medical certificate. The move aims to ease inconvenience faced by the public, who often stand in long queues and fall victim to touts. However, if changes need to be made to a driving license, applicants must still visit the Verahara office or another branch of the Department of Motor Traffic. Those without changes can now obtain a temporary license directly from the National Transport Medical Institute. Amarasinghe further stated that steps are being taken to issue permanent driving licenses from this location in the future as well. Now, a project has been launched to transform the Thalalla beach in the Devinuvara Divisional Secretariat of the Mathura district to an internationally certified blue flag beach. The initiative is being carried out by the Marine Environment Protection Authority under the Clean Sri Lanka program. The blue flag certification is awarded to beaches worldwide based on environmental conservation, water quality, environmental awareness, safety and service standards. Authorities expect the project to significantly boost Sri Lanka's economic growth by enhancing Thalalla's appeal to tourists and strengthening its global reputation. The inaugural event was attended by Minister of Industry and Entrepreneurship Development Sunil Handunetti, Minister of Environment Dr. Damnika Patabandi, Senior Additional Secretary to the President Russell Aponzu, Mathura District Secretary Chandana Tilakaratne, Chairman of the Marine Environment Protection Authority Samantha Gunasekara, along with government and NGO representatives. The Federation of University Teachers Associations, or FUTA, has announced that its members will stage a nationwide strike today. Its spokesperson, Senior Lecturer Charudatta Ilangasinghe, stated that the decision was taken in protest against the shortage of university teachers, salary disparities and cuts to allowances. He says that all universities across the country are expected to suspend academic activities for the day as part of this trade union action. And in more local news, Colombo Chief Magistrate Asanga S. Bodargama has granted permission for investigators to record a fresh statement from Sadika Lakshani, the wife of suspect Bako Saman, who is currently in remand custody under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The order was issued after officers of the Criminal Investigation Department filed a motion before the court requesting approval to obtain the statement while she remains in prison. CID officers informed the court that at the time of her arrest, 2 mobile phones were taken into custody, both of which are secured with her Face ID. They noted that the devices cannot be accessed without her cooperation, and therefore a fresh statement is needed to obtain her consent to disable the Face ID locks. The CID further told court that 2 seized phones are scheduled to be sent to the government forensic laboratory for further investigations. The National Artificial Intelligence or AI Expo and Conference will continue for the second day today in Thalawattugoda, marking a new era in Sri Lanka's technology landscape. Organised by the Ministry of Digital Economy in collaboration with SLT Mobitel, the event brings together local and international leaders, innovators and policymakers who are committed to shaping the future of AI. The Expo and Conference aims to position Sri Lanka as a regional hub by advancing the use of artificial intelligence within the national economy. As on the opening day, today's sessions also will feature a range of expert-led programs and discussions on the role of AI across multiple sectors. This landmark event, presented to the nation by the Ministry of Digital Economy and SLT Mobitel, is officially partnered by Newsfirst as its media sponsor. Let's move on to our weather forecast for today. The Met Department says that several spells of showers will occur in the western and Sabaragamo provinces and in the Galle, Matara, Kandy and Nuwara Eliya districts. A few showers may occur in the northwestern province. Fairly strong winds of about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the central hills and in the northern, north-central, northwestern and central provinces and in the Trincomalee and Hambantota districts. With that, let's move on to international news for this morning. US President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu say they have agreed to a new peace plan for Gaza, warning Hamas to accept it. The plan proposes an immediate end to the military operations, with Hamas releasing 20 living Israeli hostages and the remains of more than 24 hostages who are believed to be dead within 72 hours in exchange for hundreds of detained Gazans. A Palestinian source familiar with this ceasefire negotiations say that Hamas officials have been given the White House's 20-point proposal. It demands that Hamas will have no role in governing Gaza and leaves the doors open for an eventual Palestinian state. Speaking at a news conference following talks at the White House, Trump called the plans a historic day for peace. But he said Netanyahu will have US backing to finish the job by quote-unquote destroying the threat of Hamas if Hamas does not agree to the plan. Netanyahu then said Israel will finish the job if Hamas rejects the plan or does not follow through. The Palestinian Authority, which governs the Israeli-occupied West Bank, has called the US president's efforts as sincere and determined. Meanwhile, the global Sumud flotilla has been joined by a Greek warship that will escort it safely through the country's territorial waters. Ships from Spain and Italy are also sailing towards the Gaza Aid flotilla and will ensure its safe passage through the international waters. The flotilla previously reported explosions and communications jamming as drones hovered overhead. Israel has promised to stop the Gaza-bound flotilla, claiming the vessels and dozens of activists on board are trying to breach a lawful naval blockade. Drones have been spotted above and near vessels sailing in the Mediterranean Sea since Sunday. And in more news overseas, now US President Donald Trump on Monday renewed his threat of imposing steep tariffs on films made outside the United States, claiming his country's industry has been stolen by others. Trump's remarks come shortly after he threatened a slew of new tariffs to be imposed this week on branded pharmaceutical products, furniture, as well as heavy trucks, respectively. On Monday, Trump returned his focus to the film industry, stating that other countries have taken business from the United States, quote-unquote, just like stealing candy from a baby. He did not further provide details on his plans or a timeline for when these tariffs might be enacted. And that's a wrap of this morning's edition of the Breakfast Rundown on TV1. Thank you for joining us this morning. Do join us tomorrow as well for more of the very latest from here at home and around the world. Take care. Have a wonderful day ahead.